Aloha y'all, Daniel Aaron here, your guide to vibrant living. And I'm excited for a new chapter in our relationship, if we could call it that. I hope so, because I feel you and I appreciate you tuning in. And the next stage here is I'm back to something I love, which is creating themes for what we share, what we talk about. And I really actually, even though it's me speaking to you, I would love, if it is a dialogue, and for you to comment down below. This month's theme is about gurus. Woo! I don't know how that is for you, but for most people, that's a pretty loaded word, right? And in this day and age, we've got so many examples. We've had it for a long time, but seems like, tell me your thoughts, even more examples these days of gurus who are corrupt or doing things that end up injuring people, scandalous things, right? We've had so many in the last years, and I'm not going to get into specifics around that, though my experience is it's pretty vast in this territory, because I've been all over the place. I've had gurus for me which have been amazing, enlightening teachers who have, in the real sense of the word, helped me to see the light inside myself, right? So lots of ways we can play with this word. In the Indonesian language, guru simply means teacher. Like you've got a yoga guru, just means a yoga teacher. You've got a language teacher, makasih guru, right? That's a thank you guru for helping me learn the language. And in normal English Western culture, we often think of guru as simply somebody who's advanced. We've got a tech guru, a finance guru, right? And those are not usually loaded words. However, when it comes to spirituality, it often gets to be a fairly loaded thing. Now, I've been blessed because I've had gurus, and one way of defining the word is guru is one who removes the darkness and reveals the light. Remover of guru. I've had gurus also that, this gets a little bit tricky to say, but who have, the result of my, I don't want to say they did anything to me, but the result of my interaction time with them left me feeling worse about myself. Now, truth is, none of us are ever victims. Now, most of us go through parts of our life where we think we are and act like we are. Of course, that never works and never helps. It's a process of learning that actually I'm creating everything, and which is never ever to beat oneself up or blame the victim for anything. That should never be a disempowering realization or truth. The realization of the reality that we are all creating our life and responsible for it can be, and I would say should be, I don't say should very often, empowering. Because what it means is when we realize that we are at cause, that we are creating everything in our lives, well, if we don't like something, we can change it. We can create something different. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, my friend and associate, Vikram Gandhi, I met him after this movie and I was so blown away. He created this movie. It's called, oh my goodness, the name will come back to me. The true story, Kumare, Kumare, the true story of a false prophet. I'll put it in the comments down below and you can see that. He created this film out of an incredible experience for him, which was, he is from Indian descent, right? However, he grew up in New Jersey, very American accent, everything, went to school in the United States. And when he was in university and he was studying film, learning to make films, one of the things he did, well, one of his experiences, put it this way, was people kept coming to him, friends, associates, and saying, "You gotta meet my guru." So, okay. So he often did and went and met their guru. And he had this really profound experience, which was sometimes he would go and meet that person's guru and he'd be like, "Wow, this person really has, is tapped in. They're elevated. They're enlightened in some way. They've got something going on, something to offer. About half the time, though, he would go and he would meet some guru. He'd be like, they're full of malarkey. They're fake, or they're not wise. Or what he noticed, though, was in either case, the person who had brought him there, had the same type of reverence for their guru. Interesting. So he got really curious about this, and he decided to do an experiment. He made a film where he turned himself into, he's like, well, if I could make myself into a guru, would people follow me? So that's what he did. He put on all the trappings of being a guru. Spoke in an Indian accent, wore a robe, got fake followers at first, so then he got real followers. It's quite a movie. It's a documentary. It's got the drama, though, of a feature film. So here's my experience. What a guru really does, ultimately, is show us who we really are. There's all these different traditions in India for how we behave with gurus. Like, one of them is that when you're sitting with a guru, and this is from the yoga tradition especially, you never sit with your feet facing the guru, right? And because that's considered a sign of disrespect. So there are some folks who have been indignant about that, like that if it's a guru, if they're enlightened, why do they care about your feet? Well, and the truth is, they don't, right? They don't care. It's not and here's the point that's not obvious necessarily, is it's not for them that we're doing that, right? It's for us to create in us, when we are the disciple or in the disciple role, it's to create the attitude of receiving, to put us in a place where we can receive the wisdom, right? Ultimately, what guru is about is someone who has awoken to some level of truth about who they are. They've seen their own light, experienced it, they're able to bring it forward, transmit it in some way. So it's kind of like that Marianne Williamson quotation that's so often beautifully recited. As you allow your own light to shine, so you free others. I'm changing it a bit, but you probably know the quotation and you get the idea. As we liberate ourselves from fear, as we let our light shine, so other people get permission to do the same. One of my favorite teachers and stories is of Ram Dass, aka Richard Alpert. And he tells the story of when he first met his guru, and the other people around him saw the guru, and they went down and they touched the guru's feet, which is another tradition in India. And he thought to himself in that moment, as he reported, I'm a Harvard professor. Actually, he wasn't anymore, but he had been. I don't touch people's feet, right? And yet, he came to realize something different in time with his guru. That's another story for another time. Personally, I've also been in the position where people have seen me as guru, right? And I was wise enough to do my best. Sometimes I got caught in it, but to say, no, right? I'm not that. I'm not that. I don't want to be elevated. I don't want to be put up on a pedestal, because anytime we're up on a pedestal, sooner or later, it's going to get knocked down, right? Because what is a guru really? In some ways, they're a blank screen, a projector, a place for people's projections, right? So the question for all of us to ask really about gurus is, are they helpful to us? And the answer really is mostly to do with us. Now, I'm not discounting, by the way, the abuse that has happened through gurus, right? There's one story of a center in Massachusetts, this is one of many, where the guru, who clearly had awoken too much, right, had been liberated in many ways, told the entire community, no sex, right? That they were beyond that and it would get in the way of their spiritual practices. Meanwhile, well, and before I even say that, he also, how do I want to put it? Okay, so obviously he was having sex with some of the disciples, some of the women. And when one of them finally came forward bravely to say, hey, this is not right, the emperor is wearing no clothes, so to speak, he denied it. And not only that, he said to her family and to the community, who are you going to believe, this woman or me? And so she was castigated, pushed out of the community, right? Really kind of ridiculed. Eventually, other women came forward and told the truth, and eventually the community really fell apart. So there have been, and probably always will be, abuses of power. And it gets intoxicating when we have power. And when we are in the teacher position or therapist position or any position of power, it's really tempting to receive the admiration and the, what some people call it, the Shakti crush, where the person who we're with, if we're serving them well, has had some breakthroughs, some openings. And if we're not careful, if they're not careful, they project that onto us and think we are the cause of it. Right? It's a seductive thing. Now, because a scalpel is sharp, does that mean that we shouldn't use it because it could be dangerous? No, of course not. It's a tool. And so teaching or being in a position of leadership is also valuable. Is there a danger to it? Absolutely. Right? I highly recommend, and I'll talk more about this another time, Dr. Robert Cialdini's book, Influence. He tells the story in there of the Jim Jones massacre, the Jonestown massacre. Another great book in this realm is The Guru Papers. They also tell the story of the Jonestown massacre. I won't tell it now. I'll tell you another time though, because we got some fun to have, some enlightenment to create, some experiences to share in this month of looking at gurus. And my question for you though, and what I would love to hear is, what's your experience? What do you feel about this? Have you had gurus? Have you been in a guru position? Have you been served by them? And you know, for me, I don't hold a position here because I have been served well. At times it didn't feel good, or maybe even things happened that, quote, shouldn't have happened or I wouldn't agree with. Yet ultimately, they have led me to greater and greater awakenings. I'll tell you more about that another time. Leave it there for now. Welcome to the month of gurus. Share your experience with me. If this is interesting, useful, please share, like, subscribe. Help us spread the word so that the channel grows and we reach more people and create more vibrancy in the world. Y'all, I'm so grateful for you tuning in. Thank you. Thanks for being dedicated to the art of vibrant living. See you soon. Aloha.